Hey everyone. So this is just me experimenting with YouTube live streaming, but I just wanted to give it a quick test, see how it worked, and hopefully you find this video somewhat interesting. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to fool around a little bit with React, Laravel, and Tailwind to build just a little idea that I had in the back of my head a very long time ago that I never really got around to working on. But I wanted to experiment with Tailwind for a project I'm working on. So I felt like this particular project was a good opportunity to do so. This isn't something I'm going to be shipping or anything like that. So feel free to take inspiration from the code. If you want to go and build it yourself, then by all means go and do that. But what I'm going to work on is a project I like to call Please Listen to My Demo. This essentially is it's a tool that you could be used by musicians or music artists to take their demos or their music files and upload them to the internet with the idea that they would share this demo with record labels, with press, with anybody who wants to listen, essentially. And I guess the difference between something like this particular project and just sticking something up on YouTube or on SoundCloud or some other service is that with this product you would be able to generate unique links that can be shared with specific people. So the idea being that if I'm going to share a link with Interscope Records, they might not even exist anymore, I don't know, but with some record label, that I would know that record label has, firstly, if they've clicked on that link, because I'll know that link has been viewed essentially, and from there I can basically run some analytics to say they maybe downloaded the file X number of times, or if we got as far as building a player into the interface, then if they use the player to view or to listen to the file, how far in did they go, how many times did they listen, and that kind of thing. So that's kind of the basic idea. But really all it is an excuse for me to start working with Tailwind. The reason I'm using Laravel and React is essentially because these are two frameworks that I use every single day. Two frameworks that I have a lot of love for. With React specifically, I think not a lot of people in the Laravel community use React. There's definitely a strong leaning towards using Vue, but hopefully this will be a little bit different to your average video because it uses Vue rather than React. But anyway, I've been talking for long enough, so I'm just going to jump right in and start coding. So if anybody does happen to somehow find this and start watching, then feel free to let me know in the chat. And if you have any comments or questions, or if I'm doing anything wrong and you know what I'm doing wrong, then please feel free to let me know in the chat. Okay, so let's get into it. So I'm going to whip up a brand new Laravel project. So firstly I got to create that, right? So I'm going to use the Laravel installer to create a new project, and it's going to be called PLTMD for Please Listen to My Demo. So I've only installed a new Laravel 5.8 project recently, so this should only take a couple of seconds, and sure enough it's done. So I'm going to jump into that project folder. I'm going to open it in Visual Studio Code. Hopefully this will be somewhat readable, so let's just open a .env file. So yeah, if you're having trouble reading, just let me know, and I can increase my font size a bit more. So there's a couple of things that I need to do first and foremost with my Laravel project so that it's set up to work with Tailwind and React. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use PHP Artisan preset none. And what this is going to do is it's going to remove all of the Vue and Bootstrap scaffolding that we have in the project that I'm obviously not going to need for this particular app. So that's done. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in React. So I'm going to pull in the React preset. But before I do what it's telling me to do here, which is to run npm install and npm run dev, I'm also going to bring in Tailwind. So I'm just going to say yarn add dev Tailwind CSS. Now I'm going to need to go into the Tailwind docs shortly to figure out how to actually get this working. But for now, I'm pretty sure this will bring in Tailwind. Actually, it's going to install, I forgot about this, it's going to install React. Oh, I can't remember which version. React 16.2. So let's open up package.json. Yeah, React 16.2, which is an older version of React. So I want React 16.8, and there's a couple of things here I don't need either. I'm not going to be using Sass, so we can get rid of that. I'm not going to be using Lodash. I'll probably be using Axios, but I'm not going to have it in there just yet because I'll pull in probably a newer version when I do end up using it. But I just want to keep my dev dependencies nice and lean, so that should just about do it. So let's go back into Yarn and rerun it now with that updated package.json file. So I just want to make sure that we're running on that. So let's just open up my yarn.log file and let's have a look for React at, and sure enough 16.8.4 is pulled in. So that'll give me like React hooks and things like that, which I'm not going to use hooks in this particular project, but yeah, if I did want to use them, they're there. But 16.2 doesn't have things like fragments, which I may use, and some other stuff as well. So look, it's always good to be running on the new version. So the next thing I need to do is I need to initialize Tailwind with a tailwind.js file, I believe. So I think I can do this by just saying yarn tailwind init. Yep. Okay, so cool. So what that does is basically creates, so you'll see here on the right hand side, I've got tailwind.js. So now I can open up tailwind.js, and there's all sorts of configuration in here for colors and responsive units and all sorts of stuff. And I know Adam is actually shipping Tailwind 1.0 really soon. I think he shipped a beta maybe even last night. But yeah, I'm going to stick with the production version because I want to be able to go to the documentation and everything be correct. And I know Adam hasn't started working on the docs for 1.0 yet, so there's no point in me jumping into that. So what I'm going to do now is, what do I need to do now? So I have tailwind.js. The next thing I need to do is go into webpack.mix.js, and you'll see I'm still pulling in this Sass here, right, which I don't need. So I can definitely get rid of that. But in order to use Tailwind, I think I need to pull it in here. So let's pull that into a constant, and then I can get rid of Sass here, and to run Tailwind I need post CSS, right? So this is where I start to kind of forget how this works, right? So I think I need maybe resources, CSS app.css, which will go out into the public/CSS folder. But I think I need to pass in like Tailwind CSS, and then is it like tailwind.js or something like that? So I need to pass in the config file and do something like that. I think that's kind of familiar. But the last thing we need to do, of course, is I have a Sass directory in here which I can delete because I'm no longer using it. So in resources, I'm going to create a CSS called css/app.css file. And I think in here I need to put like the default Tailwind or whatever, but yeah, I'll come back to that. The other thing is that in my JS folder at the moment, I still, even though I got rid of the preset, and I did bring back the React preset, I suppose, so it has a little bit of boilerplate in here. If I go into this bootstrap.js file, you'll see like it's passing in, okay, like I get this, like that I need to pass in the CSRF token. And yeah, I'll need to do that, but this is not the way that I'd like to do it myself. So passing into Axios by the window object, I don't like that personally. So I don't need this yet. So I'm actually just going to get rid of the whole thing. So actually, even instead of doing that, I can just delete the file. We also have this app.js, which is loading in Bootstrap and loading in the components. Again, this is completely unnecessary. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take the example.js file from the components directory, I'm going to delete that directory entirely for now. I will have a components directory again, but I don't need it at the moment. So I'm going to replace app.js then with this. So the key difference between what I have here and what I'm building is essentially that my entire app is going to be built in React. So I'm just going to replace. So I'm going to get an element by ID. So in my blade template, which is going to be, I'm going to have a single blade template for the logged in part of my application. I'm probably still going to use the standard login templates and so on for now. But yeah, so we're going to have this single blade template for the logged in view, and that's going to basically have inside the body is just going to have an app, a div element with an ID of app. And that's essentially going to be my entire application. None of this is going to make any sense because it's all Bootstrap. So I'm just going to replace this with a simple hello world for now. And that's my React side of things done. The next thing I'm going to do just before I go building anything is come into my views. And okay, so with this, we can clear out most of this boilerplate. We can get rid of all the styles actually. And we can get rid of the Google font because we don't need that. And we can get rid of the entire body. And just replace it with a div ID of app. So what I need to do in here is I do need to bring in a script file. So I'm going to say script source is equal to asset.js app.js. I'm going to defer that script. And I will need to bring in a style sheet. So style sheet href, and again, so it's going to be css/app.css. Okay, the last thing I need to do is I just need to populate this app.css file. So again, not sure what I need to do here. I'm just going to open up Chrome, try and make this a bit bigger, and go to Tailwind.css or Tailwind CSS. So, okay. So if I go to the installation guide in the Tailwind docs, what I'm going to do is I just want to pull this in here. So this is like the default. There's only like 3 lines in it. Most of it's actually comments. So you can see it's just bringing in Tailwind preflight, Tailwind components, Tailwind utilities, and all the rest of it is just kind of instructions on how to use it. So I'm probably not going to change that at all, at least not in this video. So yeah, that looks good. So I'm just going to go back to the terminal and we're going to I'll run yarn watch. This shouldn't take a second. Okay, so I've got a CSS/app.css file and a js/app.js file. And you can see it's enormous, right? Which is crazy. Like 882 kilobytes for hello world is pretty mad. One slight thing you've probably seen, everybody probably knows this, but if you go yarn prod or yarn production, what's going to happen is you're going to get a much smaller file because it's going to essentially minify it. So the app.css file is still huge, at 291 kilobytes, but that's because I have the entire CSS framework. So I could run like purge or something like that to make that a lot smaller. But my app.js file is still quite big actually. 118 kilobytes is big. But yeah, let's have a look and see. Does this work? So what was a PLTMD.test? Okay, so it's working. Hello world is there. When I bring up my DevTools, we'll see. Okay, I need to make this much bigger, right? And I'm going to make this bigger too. So let's go to 150. I think should be good. So in my DevTools here, what am I looking at? I just want to go to the network for a second. This is a total tangent, by the way. None of this is important, but let's zoom out a little bit. I might actually dock this to the bottom for a sec. So you can see, if I disable cache for a second, yeah, so gzipped, it's 37.8 kilobytes, and app.css is 48.8 kilobytes. So like the total transfer here is 88 kilobytes, which is okay, I guess. We could obviously like work on making that really small, and I tend to get obsessed a little bit with like the size of my JavaScript and CSS files when I'm working on projects like this. But in reality, like it doesn't really matter. That it's still going to load pretty quickly, and it's going to be cached anyway when a user comes in for the first time. So I don't think we need to get too bogged down on it. But for now, look, let's go back to Yarn Watch and get those monstrous CSS and JavaScript files emitting again from Webpack. Okay, so we've got our hello world working. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to scaffold out a basic user interface, right? So this obviously isn't going to cut it. I'm going to need something a little bit nicer than this, right? So I'm going to go back to my app.js file. So this is like the entry point for my application. And for now, like I think I can start experimenting with Tailwind in here rather than building out loads of components and things like that. So let's just muck around with some Tailwind stuff. I do know that like you can use a container, right? For some reason, Emmet isn't working in my React component, which is frustrating because I rely on Emmet pretty heavily. So Emmet is just if you aren't familiar with Emmet allows me to do things like say div and press tab, and then it will basically convert that into a div tag, or do something like span.container and have that convert into a span tag with a class of container. And the nice thing is that Emmet works well in React normally, which it's not working here for some reason, but normally it works really well, so that I can basically say span.container in a class in a React file, and when I do that, it's going to convert that to span class name equals container, which is required in React instead of class equals container. I think there's talk that in the next version of React that we may not need to use class name, that we may be able to actually use class equals. I'm so used to it at this point that it doesn't really bother me, but I actually think I may know what's going wrong here. I think it's because it's a .js file and not .jsx. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create a new file. So let's just create a file called I'm going to call it pages/ dashboard for now, right? So let's call it dashboard. And let's just, so I'm a little bit anal about things. I personally prefer to import this way. I don't know why, I just do. So I think if I'm right, because this is a file named .jsx, I think I may be able to use Emmet in here correctly, right? So if I go replace this with .container, yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's a bit better. So hello world. And then what I can do is basically bring in my component here. So import dashboard from pages dashboard and replace this with that component. So reload, no difference. Let's make sure that's working. Yeah, okay. So that's nice. Right, so what I'm going to do next is just try to scaffold out, kind of a basic user interface for, please listen to my demo. So I'm going to go with a pretty rudimentary navigation system for this app. It's not going to be a big app. It's going to be, you're going to be able to essentially upload a demo, And then you'll be able to manage your existing demo. So you'll be able to view one, you'll be able to edit it, you'll be able to remove it. And then within a demo, you'll be able to share that demo. And sharing it essentially is like creating a unique link, and you'll be able to like assign a name to it. So that would be useful for, like potentially saying, okay, I want to send this particular demo to this particular record company. And then, so I have a link for that record company. I can share it in an email, or whoever I like. And then I'll be able to see analytics and specific stats for that specific record company link. So I'll know that, that particular, like somebody in that record company has listened to this demo 4 times or 5 times or 10 times or however many times it is, probably 0, but anyway. So it's going to be a simple app. So I think keeping it really, really simple in terms of the navigation structure will work well here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a very simple nav bar. The way I tend to work with React is I tend to like build a pretty big component, like this. So like this dashboard component, I'm going to create a whole nav bar in here. And then when I'm finished, working on a specific element or area within the UI, I'll then abstract that particular piece of the UI out into its own component. So let's work on, let's do that here, right? So the first thing that I'm going to do is I've created this container, this outer container component for the app. And the simple fact is that that's not going to work because I'm going to want a full width navigation bar. I would probably center the content within the navigation bar within the container, but the navigation bar itself is going to have like a dark background. So I'm going to get rid of. Am I? No. I'm going to wrap this in an outer div, and I'm going to create a new like nav element in here, and then within a nav I'm going to have a container.mx auto as well, and we'll just say nav items for now, right? So let's see. Okay, so that obviously looks pretty brutal at the moment. As I'm working, I'm going to just hide the sidebar and just keep this open so that I can kind of quickly iterate on what I'm doing, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some classes. So I don't know, I think Tailwind works with like colors rather than like in Bootstrap, for example, you'd have like BG primary to make it like a blue color or whatever. I think in Tailwind it works with color names instead. So yeah, sure enough, that gives me a nice, it's not black, it's kind of like a dark, very dark gray. I quite like that actually. So we might go straight into using this color, but I think like it comes with loads of colors. Like, so if I say BG purple, yeah, that's pretty cool. Or BG pink. Yeah, I could say like BG pink darkest. Yeah, no, don't like that. No, I don't like pink actually. So let's go with BG, I think BG black for now, right? So let's start there. We can always change it if we need to. So that's cool. So the next thing I need to do is, one thing that kind of annoys me is you can see the font here. I'm pretty sure that's like Helvetica Noi rather than San Francisco, which is the default system font on Mac. And that means that's an indicator that I'm not using the default font stack. So to get that working, I just need to go into resources. So in here for now. So actually one thing I'm just going to say, PLTMD, and I'm going to, on my body, see, when you're working in React, you start doing stupid things like that where you start putting like class name onto your blade templates instead of class. So in here, I'm just going to say font sans or sans. Okay, so that seems to work. Yeah, all right, that's fine. Okay, so if I jump back to the dashboard.jsx file, now I can start to muck around with, excuse me, now I can start to muck around with what I'm trying to achieve here. So the first thing is, so nav items in here. So I want to, essentially within this, I want to put in a few things, right? So I want to put in, let's see, I want like a logo, I want a menu, and then I want, maybe like a user menu. So like, let's say app menu and user menu. All right, so this is terrible. The first thing I need to do is I need to just use Flexbox essentially, so that these appear the way I want them to. The other thing, like I know that I'm going to have these. I know I'm going to want to align these in a center align type of approach. So we'll do that. For now, I'm going to say justify. I can never remember these classes. Is it around? Nope, definitely not. Between. Yeah, okay. So that's kind of what I probably want. I may want to have the app menu like to the left. But you know what, we'll just work with this for now. So the first thing is the logo, so PLTMD. One thing, I suppose, when you're working with Laravel, you might like put in the app name from your config, but I'm just going to hardcode it in here in my React app. The other thing that I might do here is like default the text to white, or maybe to like gray lightest. Seem to do anything. Lighter. It's gray. Yeah, that works. Gray, light. Am I being silly here? Is that making? Do I need to like disable cache? What's going on here? So gray seems to work. If I go like gray dark. Yeah, okay. I don't know. I would have expected it to be a little bit more distinctive, but anyway. Okay, so then I'm gonna give this a H1 tag for the logo. Ugh, it's pretty ugly. Or is it? I don't know. I don't know if I think that's really ugly or is it nice. I'm going to wrap it in an A as well, in an anchor tag as well. I'll put in React routing at some point, or React router at some point to get application level. Yuck! Application level routing in here, but yeah, that's pretty disgusting. So let's tidy that up. What I want to do with this is, let's see. Firstly, I want to make it gray. No underline. See, I don't use Tailwind, right? And I've said that already, and I'm using this as an opportunity to learn Tailwind as much as anything else. And what's interesting to me is that I haven't looked at the Tailwind documentation yet. As I said, I've dabbled with Tailwind before, but the thing that I love about Tailwind the most is that even though I've only used it like 2 or 3 times before, I kind of instinctively know what the utility class names are going to be. So, and it's because they just make sense, right? So, this is looking good. So, yeah, text gray, no underline, and it's a link. On hover, I want to make the text go white. So I think I can just do this, right? So yeah, that's sweet. That's not bad actually. I'm pretty happy with that. The next thing I want to do is I want to add a little bit of padding because the bar is a little bit tight at the moment. So I'm going to say, and I'm going to add it to the links and probably to the menu links as well, so that more of the link area is clickable rather than adding it to the navigation bar itself. So I'm just gonna say, I don't want to add anything on the left or right at the moment. I just want it to be vertical. So on the y-axis, I want to add, let's say 2. I have no idea how much or little that is going to be. It's almost nothing. 4. Okay, so that's not doing anything. Maybe I have the wrong class. Or actually, it's probably because my anchor tag isn't a block element. So I know in Bootstrap this is d-block, but I think in Tailwind this is, yeah, okay, there we go. So 8, and again, I think like py8, that's probably like 8 rems or 8 m's or something like that. So if I bring that back to like py2 instead, yeah, that's not bad. Okay. Yeah, okay, let's go with that. I think that's okay. The other thing I might do is I may on the nav add a shadow. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, probably can't even really see it right now. Or else maybe it doesn't exist. Let's see, shadow large. Yeah, I think there's a shadow there. Okay. Oh, I remember what the other thing I wanted to do on my. So I knew I wanted to add a second class on here, and it was probably to make the background a different color. I'm still not convinced that's actually done anything. Let me get out the color meter. Okay, so a couple of things are clear here. Firstly, is that, yeah, that's not white. And secondly, the shadow is definitely there, right? You can see it. So, okay. I probably don't want it to be like too big a shadow. I think just a small shadow will be fine. Maybe not even a, maybe I don't even need a shadow. Maybe now that I have like a gray background, I could do like a border B and a border white. And let me bring up the color meter. Yeah, that's not really, yeah, I don't really like that. Maybe like black is going to be useless because my nav bar is black, right? So yeah, okay, but let's come back to it. Because it's black, maybe we don't need to have the border or the shadow. Okay, so right now it's still looking pretty naff. So I'm just gonna, it's 100%. So yeah, that's what it looks like when it's a bit bigger. So okay, let's see. What I'm gonna do actually is, I think I'm not gonna have a huge app menu. I mean, really, the only thing that you're gonna be able to do, right, is go home to see your demos, and I'll probably have a quick button, like a quick upload button, and a user menu. Like they're probably the only things that I'm gonna have. So I probably don't need to have like 2. So having the user menu over here is probably enough. And then within that, we're probably gonna have, like realistically what we're gonna have is icons and so yeah, two icons. It's probably not even going to be 2 icons. It's going to be like an icon and an avatar. So okay. So the next thing I realistically need is, I probably need some icons. Now I could do what everybody else does and just go with font awesome. I do like feather. I don't know if feather icons would work with this project though. They're a little bit kind of soft and roundy. I'm not sure they're the best for this particular project. The other one would be material icons. So let's see, how do these look? There's 2-tone ones now. Well, that's kind of interesting. Again though, I don't know if they work with the kind of the aesthetic I'm going to be looking for with this one. I'm not sure. Sharp. Still versus sharp. Okay, I'm getting lost here in something I don't need to get lost in. Yeah, I'm not sure about this. I'm kind of inclined to go with React Feather because I know how to use it and it's really simple. So yeah, I think, you know what? Let's just do that for now. We can always change it later, right? So I'm gonna add React Feather. So okay, and this will yarn watch again. Okay, so we can close this. I use Feather quite a bit, so I'll probably just pull in some icons. So the first thing is an upload icon. So let's say import upload icon from React Feather /dist/icon/upload. Okay, so we've got an upload cloud as well. And we'll just say user as well, just to give me something to start with, right? So then what we'll do here is we will say, actually this could be ul, and we'll say li ahref. Actually, you know what? It's not going to be a list, is it? Because one of them is going to be a drop-down menu. Let's just keep it as a div for now, and say ahref to nowhere is just going to have an upload icon. Let's even just make sure that that works. One thing that, man, those links are so fucking ugly. So let's see. Okay, so we want text gray again. Okay, that's cool. I kind of like it to be a bit bigger though. So let's see. I thought I got auto suggest for Tailwind, but it doesn't seem to be text large. I think that did do something. XL. No. Font. So one of two things is happening. Either this isn't, oh yeah, sorry. I'm being silly here. So what React Feather will do is it'll take on the current color of the item that it's in, but it's not going to take the sizing from this. So I probably need to put the sizing on the icon itself. Now I think I remember Tailwind has some sizing classes. So let's see, width 16. Now I doubt that's 16 pixels. Maybe it is 32. Okay, so that's not working either. Maybe I need to do height 32 as well or something. I don't know. Yeah, okay, so that does it. I don't really like that though, because I'm pretty sure I can do this as well, where I say like size is 20 or 32. Yeah, like I can put it directly in there as well. So I'm not sure what's better. Okay, let's just leave it at that for now, and we'll come back to it later. So the user icon is the other one. It's only a placeholder. So what's pretty obvious here is that I need to put like some padding on these as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some padding to the two of them, and then I'm going to add, so I remember seeing Adam saying something about this pretty recently, where if you add negative margin onto the parent, then you kind of don't have to worry about like having, like, so if I wanted to add a new icon, I could just add like with the same class name here, rather than having to specify that, you know, it should have margin right or shouldn't have margin left or whatever, depending on what it is. So I think that's probably a little bit too big. So let's say 2 instead. Okay. Yeah, I kind of like that. That's pretty nice. So please listen to my demo. We've got an upload and we have a user icon. And so the next thing I will do is I'll replace that user icon with an actual avatar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up so I'm going to create an image folder in the project, and I'm just going to drag in my own avatar in here. So user.jpg, and let's replace this with image user.jpg for now. Holy crap, okay. So obviously we don't want it to look like that. We want it to be much smaller than that. So let's say class name. Hopefully width will work on this a bit better. So it does. We want it to be rounded, I think rounded full. Boom. We need to make it smaller. So maybe half that size. Okay, that's looking pretty nice. Items center on here. Maybe we need to flex this as well. Yep. Okay, so that's looking pretty nice actually. I kind of like that. The only thing I would say is that maybe the upload button should be like a little bit more like this. Upload demo, and then maybe you're saying no underline, the line middle. I think we might need the align middle on the icon itself. So class name align middle. Yeah, still a bit of MR2 on that. It's too big. More one. Okay. I'm not really loving that. Let's try it with a background of yellow. And text white. Text black. Okay, and then we'll just add some padding. So it's a button, so we want different padding on the vertical. So vertical 2, horizontal 4. That's okay. Rounded. It's a little big, I think. Maybe just PUI1. That feels small then though. This also feels too big now with text in there as well. Yeah, it's better. Okay. Upload demo, and maybe the text needs to be heavier. So I think font medium. Yep. Okay. I kind of like that actually. Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with this. So my icon maybe should be a little bit bigger. Yeah, I think that's good. It looks kind of pixelated or something, is it? No? Okay. And what I actually think could be quite nice is to add a border with the same yellow, and we'll make kind of black and yellow the theme. Ugh, no, not sure. I thought that would look good, but I don't think so. Yeah, no. It's kind of too broken or something, isn't it? It's like kind of like it looks maybe it needs a thicker one. Maybe border. Is it border 2? Or okay. Yeah, I'm not sure it's working. Let's go into the Tailwind docs and see. So border width. Border all is default. So I think I was doing it right. Let's just go for the crazy one. Okay, so I was doing it right, sorry. Okay, so border 2. Okay, you know what, I kind of like that. Yeah, okay. Right, so please listen to my demo, upload demo, user menu. I think our nav bar is pretty much done. Now, one thing I could spend some time on right now is figuring out how to make this responsive. So like, let's see what it would look like on an iPhone 10. And the answer is okay. But there's a couple of weird things here. So first, can I zoom in? So 100%. I'm not sure why there's a gap on the right. That's kind of weird. And also everything is completely flush. I thought I had the scale set. I did. I don't know. Anyway, look, what I would say is I don't want this to become a video about building a responsive design. So I'm gonna focus on getting the basic functionality done, because I do want to do a little bit more with Tailwind before we move on to anything else. So at this point, the navigation bar I'm happy with. The next thing I want to do is I want to design out what the default state would be for somebody who is coming into, please listen to my demo for the first time. And essentially what we'd be saying is we want them to upload a new video, right? So upload a new demo. So let's go and do that. So I'm just going to make this a full screen again. So just kill off DevTools there as well. Right, so what I'm going to try and do here is see, okay, so what do we want to appear in here? So I'm going to, actually, before I do anything, I need to abstract this into a navbar component. So I'm going to create a new file called components nav.jsx. And we'll scaffold that out. I really need to change my my text expander there to work the way I want it to, because you can see I use four spaces rather than 2, and I prefer to have React.component in the extends rather than actually importing it in the root project. Plus I like a semicolon. So yeah, that's just, some erratic stuff that bugs me for some reason. And I'm going to pull this in as well, this upload icon from React Feather, and that should be that. Okay, there's some tabbing issues as well. My editor is not working well for me today. So anyway, what we're going to do is then we need to pull in the nav in here. So I'm going to import nav from components nav and just put it in here like that, and just make sure everything's still working. It is perfect. So the next thing I want to do is build out that that empty state, which was basically just going to say, hey, it looks like you have no demos, upload your first one. So let's think about that right now. So I'm going to leave the container. It's inside the container is where I want to put the content for my page. So in here, let's see, what will we do? We'll probably want it to be in a box of some sort, right? So, or will we? I'm not sure. Let's experiment. So let's create a div And inside it, let's just put a paragraph saying, it looks like you don't have any demos yet. Okay. And let's create another paragraph, but this time let's have a button. You know, actually it won't be a button, it'll be a link. And we'll say, your first demo. Okay, so that looks terrible, but we can work on that, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to center the text in here. So I'm going to go on a whim and say text center might work. Yep, perfect. And I'm also going to I'm going to add some padding. So I'm going to add like padding of, I'm going to add a lot of padding. So padding of 8, probably not even enough, 16. Okay, I'm going to put a text size of, no, not size, we don't need size, we just say text 3XL. Perfect. And font light maybe. Yeah, kind of like that. And so the button, so my button up here, okay, firstly I need to add like states and stuff like that to it as well, because it doesn't really do anything at the moment, which is fine. But the other thing is that I'd like to kind of have another button here that like is virtually the same, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new component called button. And I'm going to take the button from my nav bar. So let's see, we had this. So I'm actually going to cut that out for a second, which will get rid of it from the nav bar, but we'll restore it in just a second. So let's see. So yeah, as you can see. So what I'm going to do here is, this is the first place where I'm going to be passing any props. So the first thing is, you might think I'm going to like import the, just 1 second. Okay. So there's a couple of things. The first thing is I could focus on like trying to make this like a really abstract component that can be used in many different contexts right now. But my preference when I'm working in React is not to do that at the very start, but only to do it as and when I need it. Otherwise, I spend time abstracting things away that may never need to be abstracted. So things that I'm referencing here are things like, okay, the color, right? So I could very easily say, well, I could make like a super multicolor, you know, tons of different options button. But I don't really need to do that at this point in time. There's two things that I need to customize about this button, but depending on where I'm including it at the moment, and they are the text and the icon. So I'm going to bring them in from props, which means I'm going to have to pass them down from the parent component into this. Text is very straightforward, so let's go text like that. The icon is a little bit less straightforward. So I'm going to need to figure out what I want to do with that. So I know it's always going to have these properties, which is kind of the problem. I don't want to have to put these properties onto the icon in the parent. So let me see, what's the best way to do this? I'm going to have a quick look at React Feather, because maybe it has a way for me to do that. By passing in like a name or something instead. So you can see here, like import camera from React Feather, or do it that way. You can also do it this way. Okay, so let me see. Like essentially what I need is what I need to do is put in like a okay, let's just focus on text for now. So what I want to do is basically say button text is upload a demo, right? And what we'll do is, we can take that out, import button from button. Okay, so we've got that. Let's see. Okay, so that's broken something. So I'm just going to bring up DevTools, and upload icon is not defined. Oh yeah, of course it's not. So icon from React feather / icon / upload, right? So okay, that's fixed it. Let's see. So I need to make that configurable, definitely. We'll also need to make it configurable what happens when you click it. So whether it's a link and we just pass through a href, or whether it's like a pressable button that has like a callback function. Yeah. Right. So how do I pass just this dynamically? Unless I create like a nav icon or something. So let's see if I did something like this, right? So if I said size 16, no, that's not going to work, surely. Let me create like a nav, no, so button icon.jsx, and so in here, all this is going to do is return an icon. No, okay. I'm going to delete this a second. I might try this approach again in a minute, but I know that there's a way of doing this. I'm having a blank for some reason. I wonder, like, so if we take this out here and pass it through, right? So we'll say, where's the button gone? Sorry, it's in the nav. So we'll say icon is equal to, and like what this is going to be basically upload icon, right? So import upload icon from React feather, like that, right? So icon is upload icon, and then here we just basically say icon, like that. That didn't work. Okay, that's weird. I forgot to export my component, really? Okay. So check the render method of nav. So icon is upload icon. Maybe I thought that was a valid way to use it. Yeah, it is. So what's the problem? Oh, it's upload. Sorry. So yeah, I don't really like calling it upload. but yeah, you can see now that we don't have the classes, right? So I could put the classes on here, but then anywhere that I want to reference the button in, anytime I want to reference an icon in a button, I'm going to have to do it this way, which I really just do not like. Can I pass props into the icon? Okay, so if we pass a prop to a component, that's fine. Pass props to a component passes prop. This is what I'm looking for. So that you can pass other components to. Yeah, I like that. Everything is fine, but I want to pass some object variable prop to the child component inside. Yeah, this is what I'm trying to do, isn't it? So you can achieve that by using react.clone element. I prefer to look at this one, but it's not an accepted answer. I don't want to use a library. I know this one isn't the accepted answer, but I'm gonna try using it just to see how we get on with that. So let's see, const icon component equals just that props.icon, right? Or maybe even just icon like that. You can get rid of this. So then if we say icon, number one, align middle. And size, I can't remember what the size was. I think it was 18 or something, wasn't it? So let's see, does that work? No. Okay. Expected a string or a class function, but got upload. Did you accidentally export a JSX literal instead of a component? Okay, so I'm pretty sure, yeah, so let me go into the demo here. That doesn't work. Does that work? That's what I'm trying to do though, and it's not working, right? So rename this upload icon. Just being anal here, but this kind of stuff really annoys me. So upload icon. The build is fine, but it's choking on this. So I am passing it as an icon, right? Yeah. Okay, so it just doesn't seem to work. Some inner component. Yeah. don't know. This is a little frustrating. Like, it's the same thing. They're using React 16. Like, I don't think there's any problem there. All right, so let's just try reloading again. No problem. No dice. Check the mender method of button. The above error. A component. Oh, did you accidentally export a JSX literal instead of a component? So maybe it's something to do with how I'm passing it here. How are they doing that here? So they're passing some inner component this way. Oh, hang on. Okay, so hang on. If I say, instead of that, if I say upload icon like this, and then come back into Chrome. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, okay, I'm happy with that. That's so upload icon comes in like this, and boom, there we go. So then back in my dashboard, what we can do is we can bring in the button component in here as well. And we can say, instead of having this, we can say button text is create your first demo. And icon is equal to, we'll say, we'll just get the plus icon for now, right? So plus icon like that, and we will import plus as plus icon from React Feather. Okay. Div cannot be in. Okay, so let's just get rid of this. Okay. One thing that's weird though is this overlapping, which I'm guessing has something to do with line height. Maybe if I change this to a div as well. Is it something to do with paragraphs? Nope. All right. I'm guessing it's line height related, so let's have a look at line height. Line height. So we can set the leading. Like I'm guessing we just want leading of 1, right? So leading 1. That's weird. Let's inspect here and see what's going on. So okay, so the div here is acting kind of weird because so div. Why is there so many divs? Like the button is just an. Oh man, get rid of that. It's still not right, but I'll inspect this as well. Did that just shift up, or is it my imagination? Ah, interesting. So if we take this away, it looks a bit tighter, doesn't it? I mean, that's not going to work for starters. All right, I'm starting to get a bit lost here. So we don't want that to be a flex. We do want this to be a line middle because otherwise we get things like this, the weird behavior with the button. In here, I've no idea what's going on here. I'm just going to take out that weird large text. It's nothing to do with the text. So what the heck is going on? Like, I've got nothing in here that should be causing that problem. So close up the nav, come to the container. So this has padding of 16. That's fine. It's this. What's with the? Is it because it's a block? Does it need to be block? If it's block, we've the same problem, right? So if we make it a block element, yeah, it fixes it, but okay. This stuff should just be easy, and it's not. So let's see. So it doesn't like being doesn't like how it's rendered. So we've got display inline. Inline flex. That could work. That's much better. And the nice thing about it being inline flex is that we can say item center, and we can get rid of the line middle here. I think this needs to be 2. I think 1 is too small. Yeah, okay, that's good. So create your first demo is there. I think we can come back here now and say, okay, I want to make this a paragraph again just because it is a paragraph. And I want to make the text much bigger, so I think we 2XL, maybe 3XL. And I want to have margin bottom of, let's say 4. Okay. So the other thing I'm going to do on the button is potentially add a shadow. Yeah. I like that. Okay. It looks like you don't have any demos yet. I'm actually going to make the gap bigger again. 6. Even 8. Yeah, cool. That's good. All right, so create your first demo, and the last thing I'm going to do is just add a little flourish, which in this case is just going to be an icon. So I'm just going to say zap icon. So we're going to be pulling in zap zap icon. Okay, that's nice. So next thing, size, we'll say 48. And then we can put MY8 on this. And you know what? I think I may make the zap part of the logo as well. Unless I can find a nicer icon for using in the logo. The activity is kind of cool. Aperture is kind of cool. Maybe something to do kind of audio, like a subwoofer or something, but I can't see Feather having it because Feather is a series of smaller icons. Maybe the meh icon for this being a meh project. And it's not really going well so far. I'd usually expect to be a bit further along than I am here. Yeah, the zap is still my favorite. So was there a speaker? There's a speaker. Oh, there you go. Perfect. So let's go, let's say, yeah, we need speaker as a speaker icon. And then in our logo, we will have the speaker icon as well. So the speaker icon, and let's have a look at that. Do you know what? I don't love it, which is kind of funny. So I'm going to say MR2, and we're going to say flex inline items center, like we did earlier, which has made no difference whatsoever. Let's make the size 16. Nope. 24. 28. The item center isn't doing anything, so let's see. Do we need span maybe? Or div? Nope. 28. Flex inline. Isn't that what I set it on? Inline flex. Oh, okay, inline flex. There we go, that's better. Yeah, I kind of like that. I think that's pretty cool. So let's go with that. And I think I'll leave the zap, but I'd like to make it a different color. So in here, we're going to say, on the paragraph class name, text yellow. Okay, dark. Sure. Nope. Is there opacity? I think there's opacity in there. Let's say opacity 50. So what happens at darkest? Nah, it's not great, is it? I think yellow dark was actually better. Yeah, okay. So let's go with that. It probably doesn't need to be 8, so it's probably MT4 MB8. Okay, so this is like super rudimentary, but it's kind of okay. So the next thing that I'm going to do at this point in time is I'm going to create, I think I'm going to bring in React Router, because the next thing that I'll have in place here is that people will be able to go to the create your first demo or the upload a demo link, and we should have a screen in there that will allow people to, you guessed it, upload a demo, right? So in order to do that, I mean, I could put in like a different state or something like that, and not have different routes in place. But I think if I was to do something like that, I don't know, I think it would be a little bit crappy, and I wouldn't do it in a real world project. So why would I do it here? So I'm gonna go pull in React Router. So let's yarn add -d React Router DOM. Wow, we're coming up on 1 hour 20 into the stream. So I'm going to keep going for, let's say, another 40 minutes. Okay, so yarn watch. Now, React Router is one of those things that you build and then you forget about. Should I put it in at the app level? I probably should. So yeah, let's go to React Router's docs. So I'm just gonna React Router, and Okay, so for the web, we do this, and so yeah. Yeah, okay. So let's see. So we are going to import browser router as router from React router DOM, and we'll wrap. Actually, we don't need that. We just need router around here, and that's kind of the basics. The only thing though is that I shouldn't be rendering this way. It should be rendered as a route, right? So we'll have a route here, and then we'll say route path is equal to that. We'll make it an exact one, and we'll say component is dashboard. And do something like that. Okay, so what should happen is it should still work. Is Yarn watching? It is. So yeah, it seems to still work, so that's good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a second page called create.jsx, and so in here I'm just going to say create demo, and as before we will satisfy my anal retention, and yeah, okay, so that's our second page, right? So the next thing that we need to do is basically bring in create, import create, and then we'll say path create is create, right? So what we should be able to do then is come into our nav, and in here we will need to import link from React router DOM, and I'm just going to separate these out a little bit. So in here then what we're saying is that we can replace these two links. So this is going to be to the root, and this is going to be to create. And then on the dashboard itself, interesting. What? No. Okay, ahref, yada yada. Okay, so this is kind of interesting, right? So this button needs to navigate to a route. So let's try this. So pass in that route into it, and then when we come back out to button, yeah, okay. Oh man, okay, this is kind of frustrating. So I'm gonna create class list as an array of classes. Or you know what? I'm not even going to do that. I'm just gonna say classes is equal to that, and then we're gonna say route here, and then we're gonna say if route return link to route. Class name is classes. Icon. Class name is mr2, size is 18. We may abstract that as well, seeing as how, yeah, we're probably going to abstract that. seeing as that we don't need it. And then here, classes. So yeah, something like that is probably better. Need text here as well, of course. So there's probably a better way of doing this, but that's okay for now. So I am going to say const icon is equal to icon class name mr2 size 18, and in here say icon. Oops, copy. So at least we're not duplicating effort there. Let's see. Okay, so that's bombing out, which isn't great. Link is not defined, of course it's not. So import link from React router DOM. New load. It goes to create demo. Perfect. Goes to slash. Perfect. So then we just need to say this one goes to route create as well. Perfect. So we've got React Router in place. The next thing you're going to notice is that we have a problem where when you go onto the create demo page, we lose the navigation bar. And that's because right now we have the navigation bar just included in the dashboard page, right? So the simple solution would be to just, come in here, paste in nav, like this. And yeah, that works, right? But there's something about this that I'm not really happy with. So firstly, I shouldn't have to bring in nav on every page, right? And if we ever did kind of state in the navigation bar, we wouldn't want to be including the navigation bar individually in every single page that we bring it in, right? So I think what would be much nicer would be to say, okay, well, what if we actually took the nav bar out of the dashboard page as well? And then what we could do is we could bring the nav bar up to here. So we could say import nav from components nav, and then in here have the nav, right? And then sure enough, it's there. So we don't have it in either of the pages, but it's there. The other thing that we can do that's kind of cool then is that we can say, okay, well, you can see as well, we're going to have to do container mx auto on this. But if instead of that, if we just took this out, and cut that, and then we're making our dashboard leaner. And in here, we're saying, okay, well, let's wrap these two guys in this. Okay, that didn't work. Maybe let's look at the React Router docs again. Say it's something like this as well. So they had the nav, and then the routes were there. I'd like to be able to use the router inside the nav, so I don't want to get rid of the router. Wait, maybe switch. Isn't that something you could do as well? So let's just see what that does. No, doesn't like it. Oh, shit. Sorry. I was being stupid. So that's working, right? You go to create and it's working. But I forgot that I have another problem. And that is that, so this is great, my create route is working. But the problem is that if I try to load that route from the server, it's going to give me a 404 not found. And that's because Laravel is looking for a route named create. So what I need to do is I actually need to look at my Laravel level routing as well and say, okay, well, what do I need to do in here? So right now we've just got a single route called welcome. but you can see it's only matching on this slash here. So what we want to do is we want to match on basically, you know, any pattern, right? So I think we can do something like this. Okay, so it doesn't like, I thought there was a pattern attribute on it. Okay, time to bring up the Laravel docs. So laravel.com docs58. Let's see, so we're going into routing, as they'd say in the States. Yeah, okay, so what we're looking for here is, what are we looking for? It's a very good question. Optional parameters, maybe. I don't think so though. Pattern. Yeah. I knew there was a pattern. Oh, where? No. I think it might have been that one. We'll try that in a second if there's nothing else. I don't think there's anything else in here. Maybe where? Nope. Routing requirement for... Oh man, okay, let's see. So... find where. Okay, so maybe we can do path. Where path. And make that optional. Try again. Yeah, there we go. So you go home, we reload, we go create your first demo, we go reload, and now we've got our routing is working nicely. Okay, so our second screen is for creating a demo. So uploading uploading a new demo to the application. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to close all these except for the create form page. Okay, so in here, so what do we want to do? Well, we want like a header, right? So like, let's say h2 create new demo. And let's see, okay. I don't like how close these are. I'm thinking maybe there should be a default gap on the page level. So yeah, let's see. So maybe this should have margin top of 8 by default. Is it too much? Yeah, 4. Let's go for 4. Now what that means is this is going to be further down, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So create your first demo. And so with this, one of the things I quite liked the idea of is that this would be, black. Is it font black? Is that what they have for like really heavy? Yeah. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure if that works well. It might need to be much bigger. So text 2XL, it's probably smaller actually. Is there 4XL? Yeah, I'm not sure it works. Font thin. What does font thin look like? Yeah, it's kind of interesting, but no, I think we might just leave it as a default. Creating a demo, okay. So what do we need? So what should a demo be? There's a few things I think that we need. I think we're gonna have obviously some kind of a title, a description. the audio file, which is probably the most important part, and we could probably do without everything else, but we needed an audio file for sure. But I think some artwork as well. I think there's nothing wrong with having like an image file in there as well. So let's scaffold a basic form together and start from there. So we're going to need a form, and within the form we're going to need a few different components. Now I haven't done forms with Tailwind before, so this could be pretty interesting. So I'm so used to Bootstrap for forms that this is probably going to be the most challenging aspect of me moving away from something like Bootstrap. So create new demo. So what do we need? We need a few fields. So I like to wrap fields in labels because that's kind of the natural thing for them. So I'm going to say label title, and then I'm going to have my input, which is going to have a name of title and a placeholder. Do we need a placeholder? Probably not. So it's going to have a name of title. I'll just leave it at that for now. Okay, that's kind of interesting. So you can see these are really basic. There's just no styling at all going on here. Okay, so text area, not title, sorry, description. What else did we need? We needed a file component, so we'll say label, let's say audio file, input type file, name is audio. And we need a cover as well. We need a cover artwork as well. So I'm probably going to shift that over to the left. I'm just going to put that at the top for now until we figure out how that should appear, right? So we'll say cover artwork, and we'll say input type file name cover. All right, so save this, reload. Ugh, this is horrendously awful. We're also going to need a submit button. So we already have a button, and we're going to say text is submit. Need to import that. That's weird. Why is that not working? That works. And we've got, oh, because we don't have any non-nav links now, right? So we probably broke our button. So let's see. Okay, so in here, if it's not returning that, it's returning this. If route do that, otherwise do this. That looks okay to me. Types of expected string or class function got undefined. Ah, okay. So either do that or null. Perfect. Well, it's not perfect, it's far from perfect, but anyway. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to sort out this form because these look absolutely awful. So the first thing is labels should be, I guess, flex. So if we like make all of these flex, yeah, okay. Well, at least then, at least it's giving us a little bit more uniformity in terms of it's giving us everything on a new line. I think we can. No, let's not bother putting it on here. Instead, let's put it on the form. margin Y of 8. Let's say 4. Okay, and with the labels, let's say margin bottom of 2. So our labels are basically our form fields. So let's see how that works. So okay, we're getting a little bit of improvement. So the next thing then is to. I'm not going to start with the file fields because we're probably going to change them entirely. But definitely the form fields are going to need a little bit of love here. So I think I'm trying to think what the best way to do these was a shadow inset inner. Okay, that kind of works. Border gray light. Needs to be gray with an E. It's okay. And let's say rounded. Okay, that's not bad. Yeah, I'm kind of liking that. So let's do the same on the text area. Okay, so that's a little bit better. The outline's horrible, which we'll have to sort. We actually need to sort the hover state and the something else for the buttons as well. Plus, this should be an actual form button rather than what it is right now. Also, is there some kind of margin around it? What's that about? MX2. Oh man, okay, sorry. So we need to take the MX2 out of here. And we need to instead, so on our nav, we need to put that, yeah, we can do it here. 1004. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I know I was saying earlier that ideally you don't want to do it here, right? But that's fine. Oh, I think that's okay. So that's lined up flush. We need to make it submit the form rather than just go to that. But anyway, so I think the way we'll do that is by doing this, right? So that's submit. And then we'll have on here, we'll have a submit method like this. Okay. Okay, we have an error. Properties isn't enabled. Oh man. Okay, so we need to bring this bad boy in. So let's say Babel this one. So in here, we want to, so we're going to need to quit this, yarn add -d, this one, yarn watch. Actually, no, we need to touch Babel RC. In here, we need to do this. And then we need to say yarn watch. Okay. So hopefully this is fixed now. Yep. Okay. So we need to change our button now again. So in here, it was returning a link or this. The next one will be on click. So if on click is set, then it should return a button that does this with the same class names. Sorry, not that. Type of button, that type of button. Button. So, and the same here, icon.
All right. So reload, you know, we can go upload a demo and then here submit. Yeah, it's the form. Perfect. Does this work? Yes, we haven't set this to be a non-submit button. So if submit isn't set, then let's go back here. So let's say, okay, so it's defaulted to it's kind of weird. Oh, fuck. So we don't need to do that. All we need to do is this. So button text is submit. And we need to say on the form, on submit is equal to this dot submit. And so then what happens is upload demo. Funnily, the button isn't a submit button unless we make it one. You know what? Are we going to be using buttons? We probably are. We're probably going to have like drop downs and stuff, but it's probably more likely that they're going to be submit, right? So we'll say, let's say if it has no submit, then it's button. Otherwise, it's submit. Okay, and that way then we don't need to go like having and is submit prop on our button here. We can just kind of keep it like this. So I'm happy enough with that. That's fine. Okay, so we still have the issue of these looking absolutely horrible. Let's see what the best thing to do is here. So like let's actually type something in. So we'll say, oh, what's the name of a song? Why can't I think of the name of a song? Okay, so we're gonna say, I don't know. Let's say Middle Child. My new track, Middle Child by J. Cole. Right? So yeah, they're not great. What would look better? So let's inspect here. And I'm actually going to switch this out to the right just for this particular task. What we'll do is start playing around with some of the props on here. So I think we'll say, let's say P2. See what that does. Okay, that's too much on the vertical. So if we say PY1 PX2, actually it doesn't look too bad. We could probably go with that. Are they using? It's not using that font, is it? I don't think it's using that font. Let's bring this back down to the bottom. Computed font. No, it is. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so cover artwork, title, description. Okay, so we want, I think realistically what should happen here is that the labels should be above. But yeah, I suppose the question is, do we want to encapsulate the label inside the field? Because that's becoming kind of a common pattern. So maybe we'll do that. Let's have a look. So we'll say, all right, so let's say PY1 PX2. And let's take all of these props, put them on here for now, right? And let's say BG transparent. I'm not sure if that's a thing. It is. Okay. Let's then say block. Which isn't any good. So, so let's say div on the title. Oh. And that's not after doing anything either. Okay. So this is flex and flex call. Oh, hang on. Okay. So this might help. Yep, that's good. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. The problem with doing it this way is that we want the we need the outline to go around the whole thing when it's focused. So yeah, I'm not sure I really like it anyway. I think we might go back to the other way. So let's go back to this way, and it's flex. If we say flex call, what happens? Okay, it makes that take up the whole thing, which I'm not convinced is necessarily a bad thing, to be honest. So we're saying PY1 PX2. Do you know what? I'm going to actually add a placeholder here so that we can actually just see. So enter a title for your track or demo. Okay. So the label then, we're going to say should say uppercase. Yep. Should be text gray dark. Yep, it's perfect, doesn't affect that, that's good. So gray dark, small, text small. And let's say font medium. I'm not loving it, if I'm honest. I think this could have like a MT1. And I think this could have a larger margin bottom. So I'm still not loving this, if I'm honest. I think the title's too big. I'm not sure about the uppercasing either. Let's take away the uppercase. I think it's just too big. I think that's the problem, and I haven't applied it to the other ones as well. So let's do the same on this one. Interesting. Yeah, it's looking better already, to be honest. So we've got our description on here, rounded, mt1, py1, px2, placeholder is equal to enter a description for your demo. Just to see what it looks like. Okay, that's better. Yeah, that's looking better already. So the other one then, I guess, is this, where we say, well, now we need to have that on all of these labels. And yeah, that's okay. I could live with that. These we're gonna probably completely customize. So we're just gonna say mt1 is just give them that distance from the top. So yeah, okay. I'm gonna put a bit of space in here too. So I'm gonna say maybe margin top of 4 on this one. Maybe 8. Yeah, it's better. I think this should have a bit more margin as well. Yep. So obviously these are full width and they shouldn't be. So what we can do with that is say on the form width 1/3 or something like that. Or wasn't there like a width, max width, small or something? No. Let's go to Tailwind and have a look at width. So there's max width as well. Okay, so max W small. Okay. Let's try extra small because it's quite big. Yep, quite like that. So the next thing we're going to do, actually, you know what, we're not going to make it, let's say, small. And the reason for that is that what we're going to do here then is we're going to say, so we kind of want to make columns, right? So let's say flex. Okay, so that's terrible, right? But so we're going to say div here, and we're going to wrap all of these items. Actually, we're going to put a div class name flex in here. Wrap that around the whole thing. And we're going to put the button outside of the flex, so like this. Seem to have some issues with alignment. It's okay. So, all right. So let's see, what does that look like? It's closer. It's definitely closer. The button. I'm not sure what's going on with the button though. Oh, because I've got flex on this guy as well, which we shouldn't have. Okay. So cover artwork is too big anyway, that's for sure. So we're gonna wrap this in a div as well. And we'll say width 32 or something, I don't know, 48. I'm not sure, should this be in here? hard to know. I think maybe, but yeah, we need to just dress up these elements anyway. So, okay, we're at 2 hours. I'm going to kick on for a little bit I just want to finish off the general look and feel of this form. So I'm going to kick on for just a little bit longer, maybe another 10 minutes, and see, can I get this form looking a little bit tighter. I'd like to abstract these out into components as well, because it's a bit of a mess in here at the moment. But yeah, let's see how far we get. So I'm going to come back to the states and stuff like that, because I need to do that for buttons as well. But for now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to create a custom component here for this particular one, right, where we choose the artwork. Because right now you can see it's just using that straightforward like cover artwork. You know, you choose file and bring that up. So what I would like to do is change that to be something a little bit nicer, with a default artwork in there as well. So the question becomes how to do this. So the first thing anyway is that we can say pretty safely that I think we can hide this, right? So I'm just going to go for hidden. Okay. And the nice thing about doing this, right, is straight away you're going to say, okay, well, if that's hidden, then how are you going to click on it? Well, the nice thing is because of the label, you can actually select the label, which is great. Okay. So we don't have to worry about not being able to click it and then not being a clickable target, because it is. So what this means is we can now focus on what we want to show up in here, right? So what I'd like to do is put in a sample album art, right? So we'll say no album art. Let's just find a nice image for now. Actually, you know what? Let's not. Oh, after closing it down. So please listen to my demo.test. Bring that over here. Okay, so let's create our own like no album art image from something on Feather, right? So I guess we're looking for something like that looks maybe like a CD or a yeah, something that would be good for an empty state here. Music we could do, I suppose. Headphones, yeah. I don't know. Oh, disc. Perfect. All right, so we've got disc, right? So again, look, we'll be breaking this up into components shortly, but if we import disc as disc icon from React Feather. Oh, my typing. You can tell I'm getting tired. So what we're going to do then is in here, we're going to just let's create a div, and in here let's just say disc icon for starters, right? So whoops. Okay, so we've got the disc showing up, which is something. But what we'd like to do now is, like, let's say this should be 48, maybe even 64. Okay. And with this, we'll say class name, we'll say text is center. And we will say padding of 8. We will say border. Okay, so this is our next issue. So we need to say, do we want to say margin right on this? Yeah, we do, right? We're not worrying about responsive right now. So let's go margin right 4, maybe even 8. Yeah, okay. So that's working. The next thing is, so our label, okay, because this is hidden, obviously it doesn't have that margin top, so we need to put a margin top of 1 on this. And I'm not going to give it any rounded corners because it's supposed to be a disk, right? So It's not looking square to me right now though. So if I look at this, yeah, there's like, it seems to be padding around the image for some reason. Which, you know what, maybe that's okay, because like albums aren't square, right? But then the cover art should be square, so okay. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Is it So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the padding onto the icon instead. Let's see, does that help? P8 onto there. No, that definitely doesn't work. So okay, look, let's say BG white on the background. Maybe we could say PY8. PY10. Yeah, okay. That works, I think. So that's our cover artwork. We might make it a little bit bigger. So I need to. Okay. So yeah. Excuse me. So that's our cover artwork image done. Got our title, our description, audio file. Yeah, the audio file, I'm not sure what to do with that. Maybe we could just leave it as it is. Keep things nice and simple. The other thing that will probably come up is like having multiple. So you might want to have multiple images, multiple audio files. Maybe you're going to have multiple tracks on the demo. But for now, just keeping it really simple. So yeah, let's get the states working on these, right? So I think we're nearly ready to start breaking this down into components. So I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to need like multiple form components. So I'm going to create a form directory. I'm going to just say text input.jsx in here. Let's see, so React, component, React, okay, so this is fine. What do we need? So let's get all of this out, text input, and okay, so we'll replace this with that. So there's a couple of things, right? So we should start maybe looking at this a little bit differently. So this will be static. So what props do we need essentially is what I'm trying to get at here. So we're going to need name. So name placeholder. So let's start with those, right? So we've got name, placeholder. Placeholder should be blankable as well, right? So let's just start with name is equal to name. Oh, sorry. is equal to title. That didn't work. So text input is not defined. Of course it's not. So import text input from components form text input. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is pass in that placeholder. Is equal to enter a name for your demo. Okay. We also might actually want it to autofocus. So something like that could work. And you can see it's not working, right? So one thing I think that could be quite nice to do is, because there's loads of things that you can apply to a text input, is to say, you can do this. So props like that. And yeah, so then what we can do is we can say autofocus here, and it'll pass straight through to the input. That's nice. I like that. So the next thing is, so the label here, you can see, so we could just say name, right? We don't need placeholder anymore actually, so we can get rid of that. So we don't need names, but you can see, okay, so, well, firstly, I'd like to be able to pass through a prop. But if it's not passed through, what I'd like to do is I'd like to take the name. So I'd like to take the name and I'd like to capitalize the first letter to upper case plus name substring 1 something like that. And let's say label is equal to that, right? So it's either the prop that's passed through or it's constructed from the name. So that's working. And then just to test it, we'll say label is equal to enter a title. That works. We don't need that, so let's get rid of that. That's perfect. Okay, so that's really nice. So what would be really great is if we could say, okay, well, text area input is description, and enter a name or enter a description for your demo, and it was basically the same thing, right? So, but there's going to be a lot of repetition between this and a text area input, right? So let's duplicate this, but I do want to consider how we can abstract some of the repetition, right? So simply text area replaces that, and then in here we need text area input, right? So that works. We can get rid of this. The nice thing again is that we get rid of autofocus, but we can say like rows is 5. And it'll pass that through to the text area. So that's quite nice as well. But the thing I don't like at the moment is that these are very, I haven't even changed the name yet, right? So these are really, really similar. So what I'd like to be able to do is I'd like to be able to abstract most of this away into like an input component, and then have these import from them and just pass in the differences, right? So if I was to create like an input.jsx component and create a class here, so in here is where I want to put like basically everything except for the actual input or the text area. So I'm just going to copy all this stuff and paste it in. And so what I kind of think then is like you'd have, so const children is equal to this dot props maybe. And what you could do is replace all of this with like input so like you basically be going for this, right? So like that's what you'll be passing in. Input. Is input the right thing? Maybe field is better. Base input or something like that. I'm not sure. We're going to need a couple of things anyway. First, we're going to need a label here. So input, and we'll pass in like this props, right? And then we pass that in. That goes in as the children. We need this guy. We don't need that because that's coming through on this props as well. So we just do that here. We need, it has to have a name. So label children. We don't need label here because it's no good to us. So that's our input. We import input from input, and then we do that, and we can get rid of this. And like even the classes, like they're the same, you know. I wonder should we do text input only and have a rows prop on it. So what we could do, like let's work off this as a base, right? And say rows, right? Don't need name anymore. But we could say rows. What we could say is const rows equal to this props rows otherwise 1. We could say rows greater than 1 and pass through a text area. Rows less than equal to 1 and input. That props class name is equal to classes. We can probably bring that down to 1. So let's say const classes equal to that. Okay. So rows greater than 1, then do text area, otherwise input. And we rename this to a text input. We delete this guy. And we say text input, we rename this to a text input, save it, and here we get rid of text area, and we get rid of text area, but we have rows 5 on this one, and it's working. That's great. Okay, so I think, do we just rename this to base maybe? So rename base, base, and then base, 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 or base field or field. I think field is probably good, right? Because that's exactly what it is, right? So I'm going to call it field. So field, and yeah, they're actually, I think text field is probably a better word, is probably a better name for this as well. So text field and rename field .jsx, and we'll call this text field, and then we'll come in here and we'll say text field, because it is a field, it has a label and things as well, so I think it makes more sense to call it a text field rather than a text input. An input to me just feels like, you know, just an input tag or whatever, whereas a field is kind of more a collection of the label and the input tag. So the other thing that we can do then is we can say, okay, well now we can have a file field .jsx, which is basically going to be the same as this, but a little bit simpler, because what we can say is we can say that it's just this, but with a type of file on it, right? We do need that, we don't need this. And that's the only other thing is that, so actually we're not using this shadow stuff, are we? So actually, yeah, so it's just MT1. We can get rid of that. And then in here, we're saying file field, and then in here, we're saying file field name audio. That works pretty amazingly. Okay. So this is working nicely. I think one of the things that I'd like to do here next, so right now all of our components are like uncontrolled, right? So if I was to try and submit this and do something with it, I couldn't, like I'm not storing any state from the form. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually give all of these a value. So I'm going to give this a value of title, oops. Give this a value of description, give this a value of audio, and okay, this isn't ideal, but we'll give this a value of cover right now. Okay, so that's fine, but the problem is now there's no way of changing any of these, right? So we're going to need a way of saying on input change, or no, not on input change, what are we talking about? On change, this not on input change. So we'll say on change, on input change, and we'll say the same on here and the same on here, okay? We'll add some state onto this. So we'll say, now, one thing I like doing, especially with forms, where you often might want to reset it to the original, is to create an initial state like this. And here we'll set title to blank, description to blank, cover to null, and audio to null, something like that. And then in here, rather than setting the initial state, there we just say state is equal to initial state. And then we have an on input change event handler. Now we can do this all here if you want, where we're taking the event and we can say const, oh, it's target, isn't it? Is equal to, actually no, it's name value from event.target. And then we can say this dot set state name is value. And you know, I'm going to tighten this up a little bit because that's all it's going to do for now. So, you know, we could make that one line as well, but I prefer the kind of readability of this. One thing here, you'll notice this bracket syntax is it's a goldmine for when you're trying to do things dynamically in terms of setting state. Just means that even though, so like if this title, if I change this title, it'll call this dot on input change, which will pass in the the target will be the title field, which has a name of title and the value of whatever the title thing is, or whatever is input. And I can extract that from the event here, and then so the name here would be title. Whereas if calling the same function, so like before I would have had to have like an on title input change and an on description input change, and they'd all do the same thing, but they'd all just update different fields in the state. Whereas this is like a dynamic way of doing the exact same thing. Now, one of the things I would say here is that I'm revealing like functionality within elements that are deeper in the component tree in my kind of upper like form component, or my higher level form component, which I don't really like that. I prefer to do this in the field, right? So I'm going to have a quick look and see, can I get that to work? And the other thing as well is that this can often be different depending on the type of field you have. So like for a checkbox, for example, you need to do this a little bit differently. So I think it would be nicer to have like this as kind of a name value type of thing, and basically do that. So that's what we're going to do. What that means is that in our field components, we're going to need to have a way of triggering that on change. So what we'll do, you need to be careful here now as well, because we've got like this props going on these. So we need to make sure we override those. I think this is going to have to, like, if we reload, yeah, we've got a problem now, right? So cover is not defined. What's that about? Cover is null. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so const title description audio cover is equal to this state. So reload. Okay, so it's working again. Value prop on input should not be null. Consider using an empty string. Okay, so that's on my file inputs. So okay, so you can see nothing's happening when we type into these at the moment. So what we need to do is, let's start with the text field here. So I think we're going to come back to a slightly different approach on these, where things are wrapped a bit more. So let's do this. Yeah, so something like that, right? We can actually get rid of the brackets, we don't need them. So that's working away, that's good. So I think the key is that we do it here, right? So we say on change this dot on input change, or even this dot on change is this dot on change. You know what? I'm going to actually send this dot props to the end, because I think that could cause problems if you do it that way. So let's do that, right, where we send it right down to the very end. We'll have a look at field as well. Do we do that somewhere here? We don't, that's fine. So in here, that's fine on the field, we do that. So we do this dot on change, and then in here, so what we're saying is on change is equal to event, and then we're going to say, oh, sorry, so we're going to say const name value is equal to event. I'm going to say this dot props dot on change name value. Okay, so I think then what we can say is, I think that will work now. So I'd say we'll say hello. No, it's not. Well, okay. So to debug that, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to just do some console logging here, right? So we'll say just even console.name here. Okay, so it's not firing that. So it could be the order, right? So if we say, I'm just going to check it on the single line input first. Yeah, okay. So, well, it's not doing it, but it's firing it at least, which is good. So I think then we actually need to have this.props at the start, which is fine. So that was registering. So now what we need is to come up here and see what's going on here. So console.log name and value. Nothing. Okay. So it's because I'm reading the wrong thing. It should be event.target, right? Perfect. Okay. So we're now setting the state appropriately, which is great. For the text fields, now for the file fields, we need to do the same. So what we're going to do is what do we do with the text field again? I think they were at the start, yeah. So anything you're overwriting, then you put after it. So, so we're saying here on change is this.onChange. Right? So what we're going to do then is we're going to say onChange is equal to event, and we would say const name value is equal to event.target, same as before. And let's say this.props.onChange name value. Right? So let's check that. Come into the artwork and we'll just pick. So I'm just going to drag in an image altogether. So let me see. So I'm just going to find an image here 1 second. So let's see. Downloads. I don't have a relevant image, I don't think. But what I do have is I have a picture of me. So I drag that in, it doesn't work. So I need to go to, let's see, go to my desktop and in here, click in here, go into desktop, get that one. And what I want to do now is just look at the state. So I go into React, go into my React DevTools, and in here I should be able to look up the form. It's not the form though. What am I looking for? Create. Yeah. So in here, nothing. So, oh, for sure, it's the audio file. Okay, it's not an audio file, obviously, but yeah. Okay, so it's got the path to the. It's got the path to the file. 320. I'm gonna go for another. I'm gonna go till 3:30 here, which is in 13 minutes, and we're gonna call it a day then. So that's the audio being selected. That's the file. Yeah. So that's okay. We probably want a little bit more than that though, to come from there, because what we want to do with the cover art is we actually want to render the image when the user selects it. So we might need to do a little bit more work on that one. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this and I'm going to make something called an image file field component. File field.jsx. We'll use the file field as a starting point. So we'll say image file field like this. And the only difference really is that it looks like this instead, right? So if we take this and we say, okay, instead of that, we want this, then, and this obviously should be, sorry, now 1 second. So yeah, we need to put this at the end, remember. Or, I can't remember, was it? It was at the start. I'm sorry. So I just made the right change. So forgive me. That's the way it should be. So in here then. Oh, come on. So we're going to do it like this, right? So if we format that one. So that the class name on this is hidden. That's fine. I wonder, could we like use the file field but give it a type of image or something like that instead of doing it like this? That'd be kind of interesting, wouldn't it? So yeah, so we'd have like file field where the name, or sorry, where it would have an image attribute on it. So let's have a look at that. Okay, how we do that, right? So instead of doing this, let's go and try and say, okay, well, it could be either this or this, right? So we can delete our image file field. And then in our file field component, we're saying basically, on this one, saying image hidden, otherwise MT1. Like that. So we need to bring in const image is equal to this.props. That means we can get rid of, whoops, this line here. And then the next one is we're saying if image is here, then do this, right? And then what we can say here is, let's copy the file field. And let's say cover image. And you know, when we put it at the end just to make it a little bit clearer. Okay, so we've got some errors we need to sort out. This guy kind of not defined. I'm actually, do you know what? I'm going to pass that through, am I? No, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use an image icon. So I'm going to use image as image icon from React Feather. And we'll call it an image icon instead. Perfect. And then we can get rid of that in here. And that's a pretty tight looking form now. Oh, we've something missing. So is image. Let's say is image. Is image. Is image. Okay, so, oh yeah, okay. So, the other thing, of course, with image is that we can do something a little bit fancier here, where we can say, okay, well, So we've got class name going on there, but we also have accept. So let's say image. No, let's leave it at that for now. So yeah, let's leave it at that for a second. We're saying, let's just go image like this, right? And try that instead. I think it's just because it's actually a valid DOM prop. Okay, so that kind of works. It's a bit naff. I prefer to just be able to say, you know, but I think what we'll say here is image. So is image equal to true. And then in here we'll say is image. Do that. Oh my god, it doesn't like it. Okay. Remove it from the DOM element. Okay. It's because we're passing it down here. Image, and then in here. So it's not liking it, but let's just come back to this. Okay, at last. So that was a bit of a pain, but let's leave it at that. So now we've got a file field, we've got a text field. It's basically covering building up this entire form, which is really nice. Obviously with the file field, there's a couple of other things that we want to be able to do here, right? So we want to say if it's an image, we want to show a preview of the image as well. So that would be kind of the next step, would be to, when an image is selected here, to show a preview. So that's the final thing that I'm going to do today. And obviously the next step then from there would actually be uploading, or we'll be saving the demo to the server side. So we'd actually need to implement the Laravel API, but we'll come back and do that a little bit later on. So without further ado, let's just very quickly see if we can get a starting point made on the preview. So right now you can see it's showing this if it's an image file field. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to say, okay, well in here we're getting the onChange event, so let's log out what's actually happening here. So I'm going to log event.target and see what happens, because I'm pretty sure it's going to have like files on it, right? So we can select this. Okay, I need to console.dir instead. And okay, so in here it should be like a files property. Yep. So all we can say is we can say, okay, well, we want to get files, and then we want to do that, right? So what we're going to do then is we're going to say console.log files. And let's see, so we do this, we select the image, gives us a file list, and then you get this information in here with the file name, the size, the type, all that stuff. So that's kind of interesting. The bit that I'm kind of most interested in this particular example is actually getting the like creating a local image from the file so that we can actually display it on the screen, right? So I've done this so many times before, but I'm kind of having a blank on how to do it. It's something about like kind of creating a data URL from the object, but I can't quite remember what we do. So create object URL from file JavaScript. So MDN is pretty good. So let's go to MDN and have a look. So object create URL from an object. Using object URLs to display images. Yeah, I'm not sure, is it this one or is it this one? So thumbnails, display other file information, select the files, so then handle the files. Okay, here we go. So files, I create object URL, create the image, that's fine. Okay, so it looks like create object URL would work, doesn't it? It's doing this weird thing where it's like doing an unload as well. Let's try it, right? So let's say if files.length is greater than 0, what we're going to do is we're going to say, so I think we need state in here. So I think we'll say object URL is null. I think we'll say here this set state object URL is equal to window.url.create URL from files I, right? File 0, sorry. And do that. And then in here we'll say const object URL, give this a state, and we'll say object URL, and let's say basically the same thing here. No, we won't actually, we'll just say image source object URL for now, right? So let's see what this does. Select this image, boom, works, nice. Okay, so class name is border, and boom. There's a little bit of a white underneath here for some reason. So perfect. So we're selecting, oh, it needs to be MT1 as well. So cover, boom. That's great. Really like that. Okay, so that's cool. So the next step obviously then is to take all of this information and actually publish it through to the back end. There's a few things that I can see potentially being an issue when we start getting into like, okay, how to push this forward. So the first thing is that like right now we're like this on change event here, you can see this on, you know, this props thing here. I think this is probably going to have to send back the file object as opposed to sending back the value, because I think when we're actually submitting the file to the server using React, I think we're going to need to do that a little bit differently. So I could see that being a problem. The other thing that would probably need to change over time as well is if we have an existing image, how we pass that through to the file field so that when you come in to edit a demo, that if there's an existing image, it displays it instead of displaying the kind of the default no image icon here that we have that we built out here. So there are a couple of things that I can see straight away, and we still have to do things around state on the form fields. So I don't like that this outline that's on there. Same with the buttons, there's no state at all. So when I click them and try to do stuff on them, again, they're not doing anything. Funny enough, the submit button isn't actually submitting. So okay, let's fix that. So button type text is equal to submit. I thought we had changed that on the button. No submit, it's button, otherwise it's submit. What's going on there? So if on, oh, okay, hang on, if on click. Oh, okay. So we're actually going to change the behavior of this a little bit. So instead what we're going to say is href So href is that. So what we're going to do then is we're going to say if we're going to actually bring this up. Sorry, excuse me. Bring this up and actually wrap that in an if href, and we're going to give it a href like that. And then with this, we don't really care if it has an on click or not. This will be the default, right? So reload, submit, perfect. Upload, go back here, upload here, create your first demo, submit, perfect. Okay, so that's good. And you can see this also has that outline, which isn't so bad on the button, but it's just, I don't know, I think we can do something a little bit nicer on that for sure. Yeah, okay, so we're going to leave it at that for now. There's been nobody watching live, but if for some reason you end up watching this video at some point, thanks for watching, and thanks for watching for nearly 3 hours as I've toyed with this and tried to get it, some kind of a starting point going. I will come back to this and we will bring it further than it is right now. But yeah, it's like I really like working with React. I think it allows you to kind of build things in a very elegant way with regards to how you map out your components, and I think it encourages you to like really break things down a bit as well, and not have these really heavy, lengthy files with tons of different things in them. The way React works kind of encourages you to break things down, and if things can be reused, it essentially encourages you to do that and to reuse components where relevant. And I think we've ended up here with something that's not that bad, for 3 hours work, in terms of what it is essentially trying to achieve. Obviously it's not very functional right now and it needs a lot more work, but I think it's a pretty good starting point, and I think like we're building a foundation here that can be extended upon pretty easily. So yeah, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to my channel. I haven't really published any videos before, but I am absolutely planning on publishing many in the future. This has really only been a test run for me, but yeah, it's been interesting to try it out, and hopefully it'll be an interesting watch. So, and hopefully my videos will be better in the future because they'll be more organized and more planned. But what are you going to do? Okay, so that's it. Thanks everyone, and see you next time.